3. Battleground 2 will be Infernal Shrines. As we head straight into the map that allows you to get team fights in Octalysis. They said they want a team fight.
This is a battleground of Octalysis' choosing, and if there was one to call home turf, I think this is exactly it. I think we'll see another Diablo ban because this is a battleground that he's an absolute beast on. But Octalysis, like we were talking about, going into this best of 3, they want a team fight. They want to scrap. This is another instance where they can do that.
I mean, they have a track record, actually a -1 on the map. They are 1-2 on the Infernal Shrines. Dignitas themselves finds themselves in the 3-0. The last victory against Fnatic, where they played a very long, drawn-out game against them. So the team fight aspect that you mentioned just now, Lauren, is something where Octalysis sees their strength in, that they feel that's the path to victory. But Dignitas is so well coordinated, we just saw in the last game, that's going to be super difficult for them to pull it off regardless.
A hero we have to discuss, Alexstrasza. Good on this battleground, we've seen it in Europe. North America in particular, they'll run Alexstrasza in any battleground, it feels like. So it feels like she's going to be in this draft. I
think Buzz is definitely going to be looking for the Dragon. He hasn't dropped the game yet on that hero, and with the changes to Malfurion, without having Ice Block, that's going to be all the more an attractive option. They did seem to have a lack of sustain in the last game, so if they time the Dragon properly and they get that burst healing out from Alexstrasza, they could turn a team fight.
When we're talking about tanks, Muradin and also Diablo here, and especially on the Infernal Shrines, find themselves, of course, at the top of the list. So an immediate ban against Muradin again. But now I'm curious to see if Octalysis is targeting maybe Urel, because this is now one of those situations where Dignitas didn't ban out. They did so in the last game. So that would be an opportunity for Whoopi to get a first pick on her. And Octalysis have now to think about, okay, are we really prioritizing this particular ban high enough? Are we worried about Whoopi prioritizing her to that extent that we've seen in Europe? And they talked about this a lot, so I'm curious about this one. But Medivh instead.
You're going to go ahead and prioritize the Medivh over the Urel. In the interviews, like we were talking about earlier, Goku specifically mentioned Whoopi's Urel, so that choice is definitely a bold one. I would not at all be surprised to see, I'm not going to go for my hand.
This is still also a map where you don't have to go into Urel. If you're more concerned about the wave clear in particular, you can head into Leoric. It's a pretty popular pick in Europe here too. But of course, Urel offers a lot. With Maiev, you have a lot more dive on your hands on the other hand, so you can go into that backline. We've seen that combo used by leftovers a lot. We've seen it used against Reyna compositions. So a very aggressive start into the draft from Dignitas already.
That it is. Maiev also, if Alexstrasza is to get picked, can jump to the back line, pull them in right away. But Team Octalysis, they open up with the Mario Bros. Urel and Muradin come in here trying to hop on any target they can get.
I really like this prioritization from Octalysis. Goku, he definitely loves to play the GOAT. Does pretty well on that. But as far as the engagement goes for Muradin, like you said, having that jump ability, that's something that I feel that they were missing in the last game. They were never really able to position themselves to get Stitch's value, so being able to take the fight directly to their opponent could be an avenue for success.
96% of chat think that Dignitas is going to win, and Octalysis top 5. Okay, they're climbing a little bit here, but I don't think I've ever seen anything this one-sided. That's pretty brutal for them. But Dignitas now heading into Garrosh again, so a lot of displacement, playing around the beefy front line, the presence on the shrine itself, trying also to create a lot of space for Reyna. The dive is already taken away with Maiev, so you have Urel and Muradin that can still jump in, but you can lock those targets in place and really try and control it, also with Taunt, to allow Reyna to move out. And as long as you keep him safe, he's dishing out insane damage.
And that safety is important. Blaze getting banned out to make sure that safety isn't built more upon. Having that bunker is something that Reyna would love to jump into whenever the jumping does come forward, so Octalysis will ban that out. Team Dignitas himself, taking away the Abathur.
I love the idea of not only the Abathur ban, but the Blaze as well. Bunker got a ton of value in the last game. It definitely seems like Octalysis' strategy is, when we take a team fight, we want it on our terms, and we don't want you to have too many escape buttons. By not having Protected, by the way, along with Blaze, they could very well do that. And they're going to go ahead and steal away Phoenix. They're on the business end of that hero all game last time, so I know they want to try to turn that around.
The Abathur ban for me personally is just absolutely fantastic. You have Muradin and Urel against you, and you want to protect Reyna with the composition that they play. So if you have Abathur on the opponent's team, you see a Muradin with a hat or Urel jumping towards Reyna, and you know he's in trouble. And as long as he's running, he's not getting any damage in at all. So right now, great setup for Dignitas already. Shielding Reyna, banning the right heroes here, banning a lot of the dive that is available, and heading into Stukov again, which is fantastic for the zone control. And as we pointed out earlier, this is Leo. Again, Urel taken away on the first pick, so the immediate move into Leoric now that Blaze was also banned out. And that's a great setup for them with a lot of wave clear that they can use on the shrines and a fantastic presence on the objective.
I'm not at all surprised to see the Leoric, especially on this battleground, but the Stukov play was absolutely sensational last go-round. Octalysis did not seem to have an answer for us, so Dignitas is like, well, why not?
Junkrat as a final pickup here for Team Octalysis to add a little bit more chaos into the fight. Some grenades coming in, maybe some displacement as well. What do you think about that?
I think they're trying to take some of the key pieces away from Dignitas. In a tournament like this, it's more of a marathon than a sprint, so you don't exactly want to show everything if you're in a position in Dignitas. So Octalysis is like, well, you showed that this works, so let's see if we can make it work also. But if Octalysis loses this game handily, as far as the psychological aspect goes, you try to copy Dignitas and you still get rocked, that'd be tough for them in the next game.
Keldar, who do you think owns the Shrine phase here?
I really think that with the setup that we have, we're going to see Dignitas taking the presence pretty early. Especially Stukov with the silence is going to be great to just shut down these entrances, make it very hard to either move in or escape depending on how he times it. And then you have damage output that makes it always scary from Reina. And let's not forget Maiev. Like, she can get a good tether at all of those choke points really easily, drag them into the silence. That's a combo that we have seen at the last Western Clash a lot. So their setup is just insanely scary, especially for Phoenix. If they ever get onto him, like, he's just
lights out.
And also, just think about the hit point pools here. Junkrat also the same problem. If he can jump away, that's fantastic for him. But if at any point he ends up in a CC chain, he's dead.
Well, it is time to start game number 2. Let's go ahead and head over to Kala and Jayhao as we begin our second match.
Kala, we saw a niche strategy for Octalysis in game number 1. This time, a bit normal. What do you feel about this draft compared to game number 1?
I definitely think that Octalysis got a little bit of a better draft this time. Beforehand, yes, it was very comfortable, but here, I actually think that they have a lot more Shrine control than their opponents. At the same time, their opponents have the ability to get picks on the Shrine. And if Dignitas are able to satisfy those pick conditions, then they're going to run away with the game.
We'll see how it plays out as we head into game number 2 here, see if Dignitas can make it a clean 2-0 or whether Octalysis can send us to a game number 3 as we get things started. JPL, again, trying his hand on Garrosh, something I don't think that we expected to see 2 games in a row. Wubby's switching over to that Leoric, so things definitely different here, but the name of the game will be those picks, and it starts with Maiev, and that will be, of course, Snitch. And he has been a known playmaker for this team, allowing Poik to do what he does best while Snitch helps set it all up.
Team Octalysis, you've got the Deckard Cain, lots of lockdown here. Sapphire is the level 1 talent chosen. 4 buds on that hero. You've got Justing as well on Murden, so he's got those Storm Bolts to set up damage for Octalysis. But at the same time, they've got that ramping damage. They have the Junkrat, so a little bit later scaling here, but you have Phoenix as well. I actually do think that Octalysis have some tools to be successful here in this early game. Let's see if they can match Dignitas in these rotations on this map, because that has been the problem so far.
Well, you mentioned the Storm Bolts, and we see a perfect storm coming out here for Murden. On this battleground, I think it's harder to land those, but when you see that your primary damage dealer is that Rainer on the other side, and it's slow auto attacks from the entire complement of Dignitas, would you have rather maybe seen that here as an adaptation? Or Justin, we know he likes to be aggressive. Are you comfortable with that when you see that style of play against what we know is coming from Dignitas?
Honestly, we'll have to see at this point. I really do feel like the only way to beat a team like Dignitas is to match them, not be afraid of them. I love the fact that just
with fire.
Exactly. I love the fact, look at Justing's positioning already. Off of the first rotation, he was immediately into those bushes on that mid-bottom side of the map, looking to control Dignitas, and I think that's the way that they have to be playing.
Right now, of course, Dignitas, as we saw in the earlier game, they will prioritize the camps, making sure that they get value. We know that the first Shrine is mid lane, so it gives you the push in the middle, and then we'll see a potential priority rotation to try and get one of those picks, find something along those lines. So I was watching the mini-map. I see Yrel coming down towards the mid, maybe seeing if Dignitas invades their camp. It's something that North America is known for, to bring their solo down to deal with a potential invade. Instead, they find a safer route as Dignitas forced to respond.
Octalysis were also represented on that bottom neutral Khazra camp, so if in fact Dignitas wanted to invade one or the other, they had the Yrel represented mid lane. That could have been a pretty quick rotation. And look at Dignitas, they know that this camp hasn't been picked up, and they are just walking in, kind of just aggressing a little bit, but I don't think this is really a camp that they're going to look to invade. JPL just stepping up a bit, but Justing is there. They don't need to take this camp. There's really no point in taking that risk.
They've done a good job. The mid lane was pushed out by that camp. They're body soaking while standing there. The bot lane they had already dealt with, and it's a quick rotation for them. So it's almost no risk, potentially high reward. If one person steps out a half step too far, Garrosh tosses them over the wall, where there's a lot waiting for him, especially that lurking arm.
That's definitely the hero to watch out for here. JPL on that Garrosh, going to be looking for those combinations. But look at the heroes that you're playing against. You know, you've got that concussive mine for Junkrat to escape the wrath of Garrosh. Even the warp, we saw it very, very effective against the likes of Stitches last game. So Phoenix also has the tools to get away, same with Muradin. So Octalysis do have the tools to deal with JPL. It's just whether or not they're able to is really the question.
Well, Colin, I want to talk to you a little bit about Yrel, because Yrel, we've seen her. She's the newest hero to the Battleground, especially in competitive with Whitemane now. That will be a few weeks out before we see that. But Hand of Freedom has been used more and more to deal with these slows, the roots of Deckard, but we also have a slow in the form of Stukov. It's something I haven't seen before because we haven't seen a lot of Stukov. How do you feel about that?
I think it can prove to be very, very effective. But here we go, Justing, he's getting silenced up, jumping in, actually aggressing heavily. But Goku, again, on that Yrel, just got absolutely demolished. This is the trade 1-for-1, Yrel for Garrosh.
That frontline control now in favor of Octalysis. Leoric does not have the same type of control, so Justin just walking forward, seeing if he can make a play. There's the lurking arm, going to zone out for now.
Look at the gem, the skeletal defender count here for Dignitas. This is going to be a quick and easy pickup for themselves. We were talking about the fact that Team Octalysis' win condition over the Shrine was going to be basically fighting into their opponents and winning on that, obviously, on the Shrine. But when you trade out a 1-for-1 and Dignitas has such a huge lead, if you don't step in onto that point and just completely make Dignitas back up, then you're going to lose it. And we saw the Wubby versus, or on Leoric versus Muradin, Justin playing that hero. You were talking about the frontline matchup for Octalysis being lesser, considering the fact that they just lost those heroes, but Wubby basically like won that trade against the Muradin.
It's like, okay, you know what? As long as I land my skill shots, we're fine.
Yep.
Dignitas, they had such a substantial lead. They sent Maev up to the top to clear up that Shaman camp, so they don't have to worry about that, allowing them to emphasize the push here in the mid. Look for them, especially early ones. They get most of the wall down, although that's a good setup if Muradin walks away. And now, the minute they realize they don't get that pick, look at the rotation instantly away. They know that all they're doing now, they're feigning forward looking for something, but they know that they already have the advantage by pulling all 5 members of Octalysis here. Leo already walked to the bottom. He prepped the bot lane, and now watch the minimap. Watch the rotation of Dignitas.
It was the speed at which that play happened that makes it most effective. We saw immediately Leoric rotate down to the bot lane, immediately Maev rotate to the top lane, and that means that Dignitas gets the neutral Khazra. They get their own camp, and they might even be able to look for an invade. JPL.
Well, all of a sudden, that concussion mine has bought some time. JPL does manage to walk away with the support healing there. But that was a scary moment.
Yes.
That's where Junkrat comes in. But yeah, that is one thing that I love to see from Dignitas. Since we saw the changes to the fort XP on the walls, they used to be, Dignitas would just hard press those walls.
Yeah.
Now with the XP being redistributed towards the forts and the keeps, now all of a sudden Dignitas has a different approach. They get different advantages by way of camps. Those rotations, they look the same, but the impact is different. But make no mistake about it, that is Dignitas in the driver's seat of this game.
Absolutely. It's not as huge of a lead as they commanded last game when it came to their first objective victory, because we saw almost a 2-level lead at that point because Dignitas were able to conclude forts with their turn in. But with this, they almost got the kill onto Muradin, just narrowly missed it. Yes, the rotation off of it was perfect, but not picking up a fort is huge. Look how close the experience is. Team Octalysis have to be feeling good off of losing that one, considering the fact that they're still very much in this game. Level 10's just on the horizon here for both teams.
That's slow. He's trying to walk away. Did that interrupt the Dwarf Toss?
Yep.
I believe it did. And now Justin, he's on an island. That perfect penetrating round.
Point, baby.
The timing. That is optimal conditions for Poik to make that play.
Absolutely optimal. We've seen Poik just play absolutely incredibly at LAN events. He even has a combination named after him when he's playing that Li Ming. When you one-shot somebody with repulsion, it's called poiking somebody. It feels good, man.
Well, no repulsion in this game, but the knockback effect of that penetrating round was every bit as effective. So we'll see 10 picked up, though, for Octalysis. Lornado the choice, not to stay a while and listen. We also have the change to Ardent Defender, I believe, on this one, where it goes from 100 seconds. We're up to a full 2-minute cooldown, so the impact of that could potentially be felt in some of these fights.
Yeah, we got to watch out for the playmaking potential of that Lornado. Less escape tools on the side of Dignitas this time. Last time we saw that Blaze, and man, he got away from a lot. We'll be playing that hero, looking great on it as always, but we also have to talk about the fact that Entomb is here. And not only now, but it gets disgusting at level 20. That Buried Alive alive, Talent is going to be able to lock down the jungle, lock down the Phoenix. All of the escape utility that Octalysis commands with their draft becomes irrelevant once that Talent comes online.
You can almost take it a step further because we've got Containment Disc coming out. And Containment Disc, if you can isolate one hero, Maev knows how to dive, survive in that. You isolate one of those primary targets, whether it's the counter damage or the supporting that can nullify that. You now have an isolated target, and you take another target completely out of the fight. You've got instant blow-up potential. For Justin, though, post 13, that's where he wants to be. But Snitch, here comes the flank on the side. Hyperion down. Here comes Snitch. The tether pulls in multiple members. The lurking arm comes in into the Entomb, and that was all set up, coordinated, and completely annihilating that of Octalysis.
Yeah, the containment there. There's the taunt onto Justin. He's taking a lot of damage, getting flipped in, and also goes down. So that's 2 for nothing here for Team Dignitas. The objective is up. They're looking for more, and they secure the kill onto Phoenix. What an absolute bloodbath here over the second objective in the game.
Prisbat's like, you know what? I'm playing with fire, but I've got warp. And Zelia says, you know what? I'm playing with the massive shove. No, you're not.
Zelia, man, what an incredible player. Honestly, I have to say, you can call me wrong, but I think he's the best support player in the world.
You know what? I know that you can only say so much, but I'd be willing to argue that June, especially at this tournament, might be #1. He's my personal #1, despite the numbers he knows say that they aren't. He likes to have fun with that. He is undoubtedly the most skilled, in my opinion, and one of the most veteran players. As we see Octalysis, they're defending against another Immortal. They should be able to salvage this keep. See if they can make another play off of it as Goku, he's pulled in, he's on the URL, does have Divine Steed, he got mounted up, Containment Disc, and that interrupted the jump.
Yep.
So now this is a jump on cooldown.
Oh, interesting. I definitely thought the exact...
I thought it would cancel it,
Yep,
it
me
did
too.
not. It just put him in stasis, so
That's true, yeah, absolutely
it does
correct.
remain. So it is a stasis ability.
We learned that from Zeratol back in the day, of course. Level 13 advantage here for Team Dignitas. We got to look at how they are going to be setting up this map. They have a little bit of time here before Octalysis hit that point, but there is the Entomb onto Goku. He's taking a lot of damage, but now the Root also onto Wubby. That's a trade 1-for-1.
That isn't Leoric, so he will be back sooner. He lands the Drain Life from death, which allows him to have a shorter death timer, as that will catch up. The Riptire, they tried to salvage the situation. The other thing, though, that was used there was Hyperion. That's a 100-second cooldown. That is not a short cooldown heroic.
No, not at all. At the same time, Maev was pushing bottom lane almost that entire duration, which means that they have bot lane control, Dignitas, which means that they pick up both of these camps as well. One member, at least, from Octalysis are going to have to represent bot lane, so now Team Dignitas will be able to use this Khazra camp, push in mid, secure another fort, because look how low that health pool is.
Wakala, for me, I've seen Dignitas. They've been in this situation so many times, and they've executed it so well that it's actually forcing out a response from Octalysis to be aggressive, because that port goes down.
Yep.
The race to 16 is there, and your ability to come back is so incredibly difficult against this team for multiple reasons. But before we get into that, we have another fight potentially breaking out here.
Yeah, there is the Root onto Snitch, but Goku taking a lot of damage. There's the Ardent Defender. Snitch is actually completely locked up, taking a lot of damage from the fort and actually goes down here. Maev dead. Wubby is the next target, and Octalysis come online, secure 2 kills here in the mid lane. What a fantastic response.
Before I could even say, hey, here's what Dignitas is about to do, Octalysis was like, wait a minute, we know that too, so we better fight. That is the most perfect fight they could have taken. I'm sure they wish they would have gotten more, but getting 2 there gives them some comeback experience, and now that allows them to push in other lanes, get experience, prep this wave with that next shrine being top, get some experience out of this. They won't quite be 16 yet, but with Wubby respawning, I don't know if he'll try and make a play. Entomb is up, short cooldown. They back away for now.
What I loved about what Octalysis did there was twofold. One, the speed at which they rotated top. Obviously, the next objective being top means that if they take out that wall, perhaps even the well, they're at a huge advantage. But they also didn't allocate all of their resources top. They put the Junkrat bottom to also push that in and try to secure some extra XP. They need to hit level 16 or at least be close before the objective starts so that they can hope to find a talent tier fight against Dignitas.
I can't tell people enough about, if they don't take that mid fight, how condemning the rest of the game would have been, because Dignitas would have easily had 16 tier advantage going into this, and they could have snowballed from there. So for Octalysis, they are near that 16 that you just mentioned. They are very much within this game. One pick, one fight away from turning this game around in their favor. Camps picked up. It does net you a small amount of experience. Junkrat starting to make his way up as we see on the minimap. Look for Octalysis to try and force another fight here. But the flank potential we saw on the previous Shrine, top Shrine, very different in terms of the approach.
Absolutely, so they're not going to have that same engagement style, but here is the double taunt. Also, Maiev getting so much value. The silence coming through, and Phoenix goes down.
Well, you don't need a flank when you can walk right in, and that is perfectly set up. Containment Disc has, well, that's going to be a Yrel on an island, so Yrel got pretty good swimmers, got some floaties going on, so able to walk away from there. Octalysis did get 16, but they did lose their primary damage dealer in this fight. Unlikely to have that back here to contest the Shrine, but they do still have a fort in the lane, so they have defensive possibilities here after the Shrine.
To me, this looks like a little bit of foreshadowing, but before we get into that, Justing, yeah, absolutely locked up here, but the potions from Buds are placed so perfectly. There's the silence and the last bit of damage, Zalius securing the kill. But I wanted to talk about the fact that Dignitas have, like, it's kind of like foreshadowing. They have a budget version of what comes online at level 20. You drop that Entomb onto a target, and then the silence as well, the Lurking Arm from Stukov, and you basically have, like I said, like a dollar store buried alive.
Well, I can tell you one thing, they probably won't need to go to the higher end stores because they have the potential to end it before 20, but again, with Octalysis having the fort in the way, without 5 members and without much of a wall there, it's almost worth it to not defend it, so you give that up, you defend at the keep. So if you are watching this as a casual player at home, defending that fort does not net them a tremendous amount of experience. The control is not there. You risk losing lives. Octalysis knows this, so they're going to defend at the keep. Dignitas, however, they get the sidewall down. That allows Garrosh and Leo to come in and try and make plays.
Yeah, watch for Dignitas looking for an engagement. There's the jump by the Punisher. Snitch following up with a bunch of damage, but he got displaced into space here. Silenced up now is Justing, but Snitch is the target, and he is getting locked down. This is another kill going over to Maiev, and that means that Dignitas don't get a push in with this Arcane Punisher. This late into the game, they would have been able to get a keep if they got a kill or two.
Wow, Octalysis is finding their way back in some of the most difficult situations against a team like this. They did get the sidewall down. They got the walk-in. They got the setup Entomb into the Lurking Arm. They weren't able to get any more. There's going to be the takedown. He does come back for the heal. JPL does find a giant hammer to the face as Goku makes the play, casually uses Divine Seed, walks the other way and says, I know you guys got that. Cool guys walk away from explosions. I'm going to go see if I can create some more havoc over here. Unable to find it, though.
Octalysis, honestly, is impressing me in this game. This is a huge opponent for them to try to take out. But speaking of their opponents, Wubby actually just ghost dancing here. I love it.
Yeah, later stages you can go quite a ways on that as we see Leoric just casually chilling. Experience, Octalysis finds themselves in a similar situation where they're marginally behind. They gave up a pick in the last instance. They have to stop giving up those small steps because the way that they have to come back is so much more difficult than just casually getting that experience. And as we look up, there it is, and the crowd watches intently as we have Octalysis, the proverbial hometown favorites here, as we get our first Western Clash in North American region.
Yeah. But Deckard Cain, that level 16 talent, I want to see some big plays from this support. I personally absolutely love Deckard Cain because of the fact that you're able to find those big roots, able to find those picks with the Lornado. He's such a fun hero to play, such a fun hero to watch. You've also got that Ancient Blessings on 13, so lots of playmaking potential here for that hero.
20 on the horizon. We know that Phoenix, Unconquered, does have that second shield / health bar.
Yep.
Muradin, potentially that rewind, get more value out of the healing static, more blow-up potential, more escape potential as Wubby the target. Goku goes in, he's fine. Speaking of Goku, post-level 20, that is a very short cooldown on a self-cleanse.
Yeah, Seraphim, a huge talented level 20 there for the Yrel. At the same time, Dignitas' level 20 is so terrifying. We've mentioned it multiple times, but that is the point that you always want to get to with Leoric. You've got that 13/16 talent spike where you get the damage reduction on your opponents, you get the extended length and time on your Wraith Walk, but the buried alive is the huge point, and it's about to come online.
Octalysis has to get out of here. Wubby putting himself, there's the Lornado just in time. Dignitas knew that they were going to get that trickle-down experience to hit 20 as they moved in. So they got there. Octalysis like, you know what? As tempting as this is, as advantageous as this would be, there is no way they can risk that situation. And Justin has to be careful here. I was going to say, if you get... Oh, no.
That's it. There's the Entomb. The Silence buried alive. So much trouble here. Junkrat goes down, but look at the cross CC from Octalysis.
But they have no damage.
Exactly. They're not going to be able to step in and secure any kills here. But still, that is a tool that if they're able to satisfy that in a normal team fight circumstance, they can actually find lots of kills.
That is such a massive mistake at this point of the game, because Octalysis 40 seconds, that's not enough time to come back and contest the Shrine. There's almost no need to push that out. You are kind of baited into saying, look, I've got my 13. I can ripper air all the way out of here whenever is necessary. But Wubby closing the gap on that Leoric, that has to be a huge warning light going off in front of you. Like, there's a Leoric. I cannot, no, okay, yeah, all right, I'm dead.
Yeah, they honestly, off of trickle XP, I feel like Team Octalysis would have been able to find that level 20 in just a couple of moments after that point. And we've seen consistent trends in the way that they are losing these moments in the games. We saw Phoenix get picked off over one of the objectives pretty early in the cycle. There we saw Junkrat get picked off as well, and that just translates into objective after objective after objective for Team Dignitas. This is a huge moment for themselves. Again, buried alive. We cannot talk about this talent enough. They're going to be looking to take out these walls and look for an engagement.
This might be their last stand. Goku had his Seraphim still up, so he's able to jump out as the Immortal down to half health. In a few seconds, it'll have another jump. They have to be careful. Watch for Wubby to move up potentially to try and make the play, but the salvo and the Riptire buys enough time. If they salvage this keep, I will be so impressed that Octalysis is able to hold again. This is incredible defense right now as they do lose that top. And now you can see Dignitas, they're looking to make the play. They get the trade, though. Raider gets blowed up to start this.
JPL is also trying to escape here, but the bombs from Junkrat come through. Garrosh goes down. Team Octalysis pick up 2 kills and a miraculous defense.
Dignitas understood that ending the game with that Punisher would be difficult, which is why we saw them prioritize that Shaman camp to push lane while that defense happened. It did net that value, so they do get the keep out of the top lane as well. But the fact that Octalysis is still in this game is a point of its own. They have 2 members down. They might be looking for keep here.
Exactly. Not only are they back in this game, but they can do much, much more. 30-second death timer on Garrosh, 25 there for the Rainer. If Octalysis can step up and find anything at this point, this could be game for the North American team against this European team that is absolutely incredible. They're stepping in. Look at their positioning.
You do not walk to this side of the keep without thinking about going for core right now. 15 seconds before Garrosh goes. Is this going to be the last hope? Containment just buys time on the Urel. They are going for the core. They're going to try and even this series up. This is very difficult to do. Rainer is up. There's going to be the tether in. Bud's trying to make room as the shield's starting to fall. Prismat unconquered already there. Prismat's going to go down. This is going to be a wipe momentarily unless Octalysis finds a miracle to be able to walk away from this. And Wubby says it ain't happening. He's 7 seconds away from an Entomb. Look for them to try and close it out.
The scroll of ceiling missed there. Justing is getting chunked out massively. Buds is also caught out. There's nothing that he can do. There is the Warlord's challenge. Buds is going to die. Everyone is dying. Team Dignitas with an incredible defense, but also Team Octalysis with just a bold play. They could have just taken the keep and then looked for another 20-20 fight, or 20 talent tier, obviously, and try to, if they get even 1, maybe 2 kills at that point, they could have looked to conclude the game. But that was very ambitious from Team Octalysis.
Could have been one of the most risky plays you could see, but at this stage of the game, you know you're down. Double catapult lane. Next Shrine is in the non-catapult lane. So the rotation over to defend against that would have been incredibly difficult. So Dignitas, they're able to close it out, but not without a tough test here in game number 2 from Octalysis. But make no mistake about it, this is the Titan of Dignitas. So Octalysis fought valiantly, but they will find themselves in the lower bracket later today.
They looked pretty good for most of that game. I guess they looked good in moments, we should say. Obviously, Dignitas commanded most of that game, honestly. The only thing that they really didn't have control over was that first Khazra camp on the bottom side of the map. But then they also